This next one was sent to CornyDriveThru at gmail.com from Amos in Vancouver, Canada.
Wait a minute. From Anus?
Amos.
Okay, it's just that New Jersey accent you got again.
Oh, we used to. First of all, it's a Long Island accent. Let's get things straight.
Yeah, well,
not long. With the retirement of The Undertaker, I was wondering about the name of the Tombstone Piledriver. The name obviously goes perfectly with the Undertaker gimmick, but I'm under the impression that it's had that name for longer than he had the gimmick. Do you know the origins of the name Tombstone Piledriver?
Well, it makes sense. Actually, that's why that they gave him that as a finish, because it makes sense. The Undertaker's finish would be the tombstone, but when you think about it, you're picking a guy up and dropping him, planting him like a tombstone. You can see the visual here. That as far as who was the first person to do it, Brian, I don't fucking know. Do you know? I mean, we were seeing it, and what did they call it in Mexico, where it was like the most deadly band hold of all time, but they had a name for it in Mexico back in the 70s.
Oh, I don't remember.
Was it
Excalibur would know?
Oh, God. Well, of course, yes. But anyway, it's been around. I don't recall knowing who did it.
Dynamite Kid used to do it a lot, and Gorilla Monsoon, even before The Undertaker, I remember Gorilla Monsoon always saying Tombstone Piledriver.
Well, but, when you go back and look at some of those old pictures of Andre was doing kind of a thing like that in the Montreal days when he was still younger and more agile.
Morocco did something like that, too.
Yeah. And, of course, it's somewhat similar to a shoulder breaker, like Roop used to do, but, just tucking the head and going to the knees. But it's been around for a while. And really, who knows who did the first thing first? Because probably it wasn't on tape or film, and most of the tapes and films, don't exist because Thez was so prolific and on top for so long in those Chicago film archives. You see Thez doing a power bomb. Of course, it wasn't a power bomb and it wasn't pretty. And with those rings, the way they used to be constructed, you didn't put a guy down with the same emphasis or they wouldn't have never got back up again. But it's the genesis of the move. Actually, somebody tweeted the clip the other day. We've told that story a million times about when Bubba Rogers hit Bill Mulkey with that move that he thought of and come up with and knocked Bill out. And that's when Dusty said, "Don't do shit you do not know how to do. Do not do shit you don't know how to do." But when they tweeted the clip, I remembered exactly what it was. We did a takeoff on the old finish that the Freebirds used to do. Michael Hayes and Terry Gordy did this, and later on when they got Roberts, they'd do a double backdrop, but Hayes would backdrop the guy into Gordy, who would grab him upside down and then drop to his knees and put the guy shoulder first down to the mat. And so what Bubba said, "Hey, if I can catch Bill and then I'm going to sit down." But nobody was using a power bomb back then, right? So this was kind of a sit-down power bomb, but he had caught Bill on the fly upside down and then just kind of sat down. And when his ass hit, one of those boards flapped up and he put Bill down fairly safe, but one of those boards lopped up on that TV ring because Bill said it hit him right in the back of the head. The board, bam, and it knocked him goofy. But Bubba was basically trying to invent the sit-down power bomb, which is in 1986. Nobody's doing that either, at least not that we fucking knew about. So that's kind of where that, but every once in a while, somebody will do something and do it so well that it catches on or it's pushed and given a name. And then, they know that move. So Undertaker with the tombstone or Jake with the DDT or whatever. And then, yes, the marks in their basement try to name it after a Japanese wrestler and translate it into a foreign language so that it can sound even more complicated and goofy. But everybody's adapting shit that somebody else has done because there's only so many ways to throw somebody around. And when they ran out of ways to do it realistically, that's been the problem, is when the guys just started thinking about shit that they don't care whether it obviously requires cooperation or it doesn't really make sense because it's a cool move. When we thought of stuff in those days, it was, okay, how can we make it safe? How can we work and do it? But also, how do we do, if we can't do it where it doesn't obviously require cooperation from the opponent in an egregious way, visually obvious way, or it doesn't make sense that somebody would do that to begin with, then even if it's a good move, we don't do it. Now they put the cart before the horse. If it's a move, they don't care. It's like, the fucking guy that when Muta started doing the handspring elbow. Well, you know what? He could kind of get away with it where it looked fucking badass because he would shoot the guy in the turnbuckle and he would run and do that quick cartwheel and come into the corner with momentum and that elbow, boom, and it would look like it could do some damage. But then everybody else started doing it, and then the kids on the indie started doing it, and then the girls started doing it, and then it became doing a cartwheel and stop flat-footed and kind of lean into the guy in the corner. Well, that's the stupidest thing ever. Because if you can't pull the fucking thing off, don't do it. So that, anyway, in answer to your question originally, a lot of that shit was done, but it just wasn't named at that point or wasn't popular or hadn't caught on and been pushed somewhere with a guy that knew how to do it really well and the promotion wants to go with it. That's what gets moves over, just like it gets talent over. If the promotion is not telling the guy that's over to win his matches over and over with a specific move or to do damage over and over with a specific move, the move doesn't get over. It just becomes a goddamn miscellaneous move.
Well, one final thing on this. You've taken it. Is it a safe move?
The Tombstone?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Once again.
Safer than a regular pile driver?
Well, okay, let me all these things depend on who's doing it. Now, if Jerry Lawler gave me a regular pile driver, I wouldn't sure, no worries, King, give me another one. I'll take them all day. But if he was going to go give me a Tombstone, I would, well, wait a minute, because have you ever done a Tombstone? I've never seen it. So what's safer depends on who's doing it. I don't know that I've taken Jerry Lawler's pile driver and it's fucking gorgeous. I've taken Undertaker's Tombstone. I don't know that I would want Undertaker to give me a regular pile driver because he haven't done them. And he's got bad hips. Maybe he might fucking not be able to go down flat and he'll fuck you up. Bobby Eaton, the guy that could do everything, could never give a pile driver because he could not somehow, he would always bend his right leg behind him when he was dropping and drop the guy sideways with a pile driver because he could not, even though the guy that did the Alabama Jam off the top rope, flatter than a fucking pancake in the middle of the ring, when he had the guy up and he had his head between his legs, he couldn't get that move where he could go up and come down flat. Sometimes you just can't get things. So as to which is safer, it depends on who's doing it. But if you've got and I wouldn't let just some outlaw guy give me either one because he might not know what the fuck he's doing. But if the pile driver is one of the safest things in wrestling, if the guy knows what he's doing. And I would take that from any veteran before I would do any of these dives or catch any of these dives or do half of the shit that the guys are doing now. The first time I ever, was it first or second? First time I ever got pile driven was by Steve Kern on the concrete floor in the Mid-South Coliseum. It was a spike pile driver with Stan grabbing my feet because I just fucked him out of the World Tag Team title. That's the night Watts was there. So it was the second time I got pile driven because Lawler had done it first. But a spike pile driver with Stan coming off the apron of the ring, Kern dropping me on the concrete floor, Watts is there, and Jarrett's auditioning everybody. And I was a little trepidatious about that. And Kern just looked at me and said, once I fucking get your head between my legs, just put one hand here and one hand there on both outsides of my knees so you can fucking keep them together. And when I land, you'll feel the bump and push up. Okay. It looks like he fucking obliterated me on tape and I never felt it. But these guys regularly take, and that's banned in the WWF now, right? The Tombstones and the pile drivers, but they regularly do these dives and catch people coming off the top and take risks that, as we've seen, can put you in a hospital in a twinkling of an eye. So yeah, I'd pile drive me all day fucking long because I know how to take it as long as the guy knows how to give it.
Well, the things that got banned were really centered around things that had caused some neck injuries. Not disagreeing with what you're saying, but like Owen Hart gave that tombstone. Well, I don't even know if you can call it a tombstone.
That wasn't a tombstone. And see, that's the thing. I had never seen Owen do that before. That's what always puzzled me. Never seen him do that move before. Maybe he'd done it in Calgary years ago, whatever the fuck. I don't know where it came from. And when I saw it, I was like, holy fuck. Everything's dangerous. If a guy wants to hurt you with a headlock, he can. Or if he doesn't know what he's doing and you're trying to work with him, he can hurt you with a headlock. So everything's dangerous. But the stuff they banned, a lot of it made sense. The German suplexes high up on the fucking head and the neck, or the overhead throws, all the throws and shit where you're not in control of someone, that went too far. So yes, and the guy's trying to get fancier than Dick Murdoch with the brain buster, shit like that. That, yeah, ban that stuff. But regular pile drivers with veterans that know what they're doing, that's ridiculous.